Hi, my name is Gillian Neky. I'm the managing counsel at Gillian Neky and Company Advocates, as well as I lead the deals and transactions department. And today, here with me is Liz Oyande. He's our lead counsel at the tech and IP department, and also a seasoned IP and technology counsel. So I'm really excited to see you today and to have this chat. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you very much for having me today, Gillian. And very nice to be able to talk about IP and innovation. And I really look forward to this conversation.
Interesting. How you doing? How things? How's practice?
Things are good. I can't complain. We are living in very exciting times, especially for technology and AI. So I'd say that there's a lot of vibrant work going around. And I'm looking forward to seeing more and what's going to come ahead.
So it's like some sort of a gold rush in tech.
Oh yes, you can say that because it's just evolving so quickly. There's always something new coming up, and the young people are always ready to embrace it. So I'd say yes, there's a whole gold rush that's coming in terms of AI and technology.
Oh, interesting. I mean, it sounds like cliche, but there's a reason it's cliche.
Yes.
Let me ask
Uh-huh.
to start us off. How did you get into IP and tech? How did you find yourself in this side of practice? And maybe just tell us like your most significant roles, because I know you've worked with very, very big organizations. So like, how did you get into this side of the world? Give us a background about yourself.
Yeah, sure, Gillian. So when I did my law degree, and then I went on to do my master's, the one aspect of that commercial law that stood out was intellectual property. So I just immediately knew this is the kind of law that I'll be doing, right? So when I came back to Kenya, I did a stint at CIPIT, which is like a legal department at Strathmore University. And that's really where my IP experience began. At the time, we were dealing with patents and some trademark work. And then after I got admitted to practice law in the country, I worked at Aga Khan University. So I did that for about 7-8 years. And I was managing their copyright office. So that experience of intellectual property in academia, both at Strathmore and at Aga Khan, was a very good foundation for me. And then from there, I just wanted to explore other areas of intellectual property. So I did consulting for technology, where we met, the technology company where we worked.
Santech.
Yes. And then just trying to see how I can do more outside that. So I just want to expand my experience as we go along.
Interesting. Interesting. When we met at Sand, it was like you were the guru of IP, like, and you're still the guru of IP. Like I hadn't worked with so many consultants who were experts in their field, 10 plus years, knowing their staff and having worked with multinational organizations at very like high levels. Now that we're here, it's been a few, I don't know, say months, years from our consulting days at Sand. Tell me, what do you think of the farm now that you're part of the farm? What do you think of the farm? What do you think of our culture? What do you think of our systems? For the time that you've been here, what can you say about us?
Okay. I like that the farm is very young and vibrant. I like that the talent that is within the farm stands out. You find that the talent that is there is very innovative. They like to go out, seek out information, put the information out in blog posts. So I like that I feel like I always have to keep up in terms of, because I'm not somebody who likes posting or tends to post, but I have to try and be young to keep up with this young talented
Young
crowd.
Energy.
Yes. Yes. And the
Yeah.
systems and the culture in place, it's a very inclusive place to work. You always want to achieve more. You always want to network beyond your comfort zone. And I think that's what really draws me to the farm.
Oh, thank you. Tunasumbua.
I know.
Interesting. Welcome. You're home.
Thank you very much.
So when you think about how far IP and the legal structure around technology has come in Africa, what really stands out for you?
So how far the IP structure for technology?
just basically the IP structure and also maybe the legal structure around innovation has come. Like, what is standing out? Is it, like what stands out?
Okay. So at the moment, especially in Kenya, I know we have drafted an IP strategy as a country. We have a couple of laws in place to protect intellectual property. And in terms of startups and innovation, of course, we don't have a startup act yet. We have a startup bill. There are countries in Africa that do. But you can see, in a sense, that the IP community is coming together to sort of have policies and frameworks in place to ensure that IP is protected locally. Yeah. So for the moment, the only ones that we have are the basic acts. But in terms of AI and forward-thinking frameworks, we are still developing those as a country. Yeah.
Okay, what can you say about Africa? Because recently I think is the other day, Ghana passed, not Ghana passed, but the Ministry of ICT in Ghana proposed 13 bills to be able to basically regulate. I don't know if it's say regulate or basically help in the innovation of AI, fintech, and other areas in tech, including misinformation. So they proposed 13 bills.
That's impressive.
Just in technology. So what do you think about the African space? Leave alone Kenya to be specific.
Yeah, well, when you look at the countries that perhaps have got like the Startup Act, for example, so Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, this is very impressive because people are starting to think, okay, maybe we need to be forward. It's not always about sitting back and seeing how other countries or other regions like Europe and the US are doing it and then coping. They're trying to modify that to the markets, right? So we currently have an AI strategy, I think from 2025 to 2035, which is trying to go into that direction of keeping up with the trends in Europe and the US. But for the most part, Africa, I still feel like we're behind. We are slow, but we are going to catch up.
We're getting there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
For the most part. Which is the nature of things. We tend to see how things work outside, and then we try to incorporate them, and we adapt them into our own markets.
I feel like Africa is a hot market, and everything is happening at the same time. So there's regulation, there's a development of the legal structure, there's a development of the technology, and then there's the awareness of the market in terms of the people, the audience. So it's like everything is coming up together almost at an almost similar pace, and it's just exciting to see and watch. Yeah, interesting. So we are a few days away from the Africa Startup Festival. And this is going to be happening at the Butter House in Nairobi on the 30th of October. And Liz, I know with startups, what most people or what most founders usually ask is, where do I start legally? I remember there's a time the Honorable Sakaja had put up an ICT innovation conference and we attended. At that time, I was working for a different firm and we did a masterclass. And part of what everyone was almost asking, I think it had been sponsored by Africa Hackathon. And they were asking, where do I start legally? Is it IP? Is it contracts? Do I get an NDA? Do I get the license first? Where we started?
Get a lawyer, start there. You have to bring a lawyer in. Legal process is very important. So even when you're trying to incorporate that company, you need a lawyer. Those processes are legal processes. Yeah. So, and then you need to do your due diligence. So IP is very important. You don't want to be in a position where you've come up with this impressive product or service and you've gone to market, and then guess what? Legal issues. Somebody else already owns that trademark. Yeah. So you need to get a lawyer because that lawyer will walk you through the due diligence process to make sure that, you're good to go into the market. Yeah, absolutely. So start by getting a lawyer.
That's the first thing.
Compliance is very important. Do not make any moves without getting legal counsel.
What if they don't have a budget for that? Because startups are usually constrained with resources.
There's always a budget for a lawyer. You have to set aside a budget for a lawyer because you don't want to go ahead doing guesswork.
Or the risks supersede the startup costs.
Absolutely. And even if it's just like getting a consultant or a consulting lawyer to do it, which will reduce the cost a little bit more than getting a law firm to do it, then you'd still be able to protect the corporation and also have the due diligence done at a minimum cost. Yeah, so you need to have a budget for legal advice.
So, what will you say are the common mistakes and pitfalls that you've seen startups or founders do at the beginning, especially the non-lawyers? You know, for us lawyers, we know how to navigate. I once had a client who was a founder and is a lawyer. Those ones are usually the stubborn ones because they're like, say no these things. I mean, what can you teach me? And then the ones with an MBA also are very stubborn.
Yes.
But like, there are those guys who are not perhaps as sharp or as wise, and they're not also well read in terms of legal stuff. So what do you think, what do you see are their common mistakes and pitfalls as they start?
Okay, good question. So the most common one that I see is not having an NDA or signing a confidentiality agreement. So you'll have this brilliant idea and you'll go and pitch it somewhere, but you didn't sign any NDA. So in essence, you're giving away your ideas for free. And then you find that the person that you pitched this idea to goes ahead and implements it in another name or in another format. So you need to be cautious. You need to protect yourself when you're going out there to share your idea. Make sure you sign at least a non-disclosure agreement if it's something that can be patented, or you have signed a confidentiality agreement. Another thing that I see is when you go to market, you don't protect yourself. So you go out with all these brilliant products and services, but you don't register it. So somebody else will come and take your name, register it, and then sue you. You're being sued for something that you created because you didn't protect it.
I have a follow-up. I have a follow-up question on that because people usually ask, and you know, like now that you've said. That's one of the major common mistakes, you know, people that like, especially with IP, you know, patents and patent infringement and copyrights and trademarks. Someone will ask, when should I get my license and my copyright on my IP registered? You know, IP licensing basically, even fintech licensing, and other forms of licenses, because licenses are across board. So one will ask, where should I get this? Is it during setup? Is it when I'm scaling? At what stage should I focus on this? You know, what do you think?
Okay, it depends. So licensing can be at the beginning and it can be post-scaling. So at the beginning, when we're talking about licensing, there are some things that you don't need to apply for licensing for. So things like copyright are automatic. So you don't need to register for these. But when you're trying to enter into a market, you need to get the patent side and the trademark side sorted. Of course, when you're trying to have your growth strategy much later on, and you're trying to license, so you're trying to get some profit from some of these products and services, then it helps to do this post-scaling because now you're entering the market. People know who you are, so you can leverage that to get more money for the licensing that you'll make from the product. So it depends on which stage of the business you are in.
And is there a way that companies can protect their IP without blowing their budgets? Is there a secret in the house or something? Because that's always an issue, you know. We don't have the budget for IP. We don't have the budget for licensing, you know, they need to operate. But for IP, it's more like a luxurious thing. Like, unless they end up being a big product, it's like they don't see the need, even if you tell them at this stage is important. Then, you know, so is there a way they can cut around? Is there a secret, a playbook, something in the playbook?
There is no secret. So if you have a name, like if your name is your brand and you wanted to be the only person in that country to use that brand, we'll need to do everything to protect it. Right? So if you wanted to protect in Kenya, it's a small cost. It's not expensive to register a trademark in Kenya. But if you wanted to go outside Kenya into other countries, you need to have a big budget because there are 54 countries in Africa. So you have to protect in each of those 54 countries. It's a huge budget. So
there's no shortcut around
There is no shortcut. The only way that you can do it is like if certain countries, so like there's the Africa Regional IP Organization, 24 countries. So if you wanted to register in any of those, it's a lot cheaper than going independently to each country to register.
Actually, I was going to ask, is there a smart way to register IP regionally? Like if, for example, I operate in 5 or 6 countries in Africa, how can I go around it? I know I might not be, as you've said, there's no way to reduce the budget or whatever, but how can I go around it smartly? Because, you know, I've realized one thing with clients is they always just, if you give them an extra commercial advice that makes sense to them, they value the legal advice more.
Yes, of course. Of course, there are cheaper ways to register regionally. So if you wanted to register in Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda simultaneously, there is something called the Africa Regional Intellectual Property Organization,
Yeah.
and it has 22 member countries in Africa. So any one of these countries, it's cheaper to go through ARIPO than going. For example, South Africa is not a member, Nigeria is not a member. You have to get local counsel in those countries, which makes
Okay.
it expensive.
Uh-uh.
So with ARIPO, this body, it makes it easier for you because you can register in any of these countries without having to contact local counsel.
So basically use regional hubs.
Absolutely.
And do you go through Kipi so that Kipi, you make the application through Kipi, or do you have to make the application to Aripo directly?
You make the application through ARIPO directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about with WIPO? Same.
With WIPO, it's an online system. So you just go and pay the fees. You pick the country that you want to register in, and then it will give you a list of fees, and then you just send the money to them directly. The same with the API. So we have the African OAPI. It's a French word, I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
So for that one, there are 17 countries, but it's only for the French countries. So if you wanted to register your trademark in these French countries, you go through them. And then if you protect in one country, it protects in the 17 countries. So OAP is it's actually a better system than ARIPO because if you protect in any of those French countries in Africa, then you get protection in all the 17 countries through OAP. So it's more cost efficient, definitely, as opposed to going to contacting legal counsel in countries that are not part of these organizations.
So there are shortcuts.
There are shortcuts, yes. But you do need to have a budget for IP. It's not negotiable.
Interesting. Apart from IP or aside from IP, and just looking at innovation generally and technology, because I feel like every company right now is a tech company. Every company right now is a media company. And every company is in one way or the other involved in or using technology, adopting AI, automation, and so on and so forth. What do you think is the biggest legal challenge to scaling these companies across Africa? So let's say, for example, I have a betting company in Kenya and I want to enter Cameroon or Ghana or Nigeria, or even I'm coming from India, for example, and I want to enter the African market. What do you think is the biggest legal challenge to scaling across the continent?
So I'd say regional fragmentation. So there isn't one harmonized legal system. So again, if you're looking at 54 countries, they all have their own different laws.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're trying to register in Ghana, for example, you need to understand how things work in Ghana, what laws are in place. It will be different from how things work in Kenya. So I think the biggest legal challenge is we don't have laws that seamlessly integrate across borders. And I think moving forward, this will be, it should be something that we should be trying to
achieve.
Yes, to achieve, to make it seamless for you to do business in Africa, especially.
Okay. So given that we're not there yet, and of course, there's still companies that want to scale, they want to be able to tap into different markets within the continent. What can you say is the workaround? How can they basically prepare to face these challenges head on?
I say know your market. So again, the cost implications here come into play. You will need to contact local counsel in those countries to sort of understand how the market works. And then obviously be more targeted to countries that are more friendly in terms of countries that have policies and frameworks around startups, around AI, around technology.
Yeah.
These will be more attractive to people to go into as opposed to countries that don't have them.
So basically, we focus on countries that have better policy and better laws at the moment.
Absolutely.
Wow. Now with that, let's compare a few countries that most investors and a few vibrant markets. And Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Ethiopia. These are very interesting markets. Recently also Tanzania. And even the Southern African countries, there are a couple of countries coming up because of the minerals and gemstones. If you compare the legal structures, what do you have to say about that? What are the key differences in the legal structures? Are there progressive regimes? Are there those regimes that stole innovation? Just what's your opinion on that?
Personally, I think the Kenyan market is very good, especially for fintech innovations. I'd say that the benefit of Kenya is that it's part of other wider organizations that make it easier for you to register your innovations.
Yeah.
It's more challenging, I'd have to say, in Nigeria and South Africa in terms of, although we all have data protection laws, so Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, we all have those data protection laws in place. You still find that there are challenges in terms of registration in those regions. Perhaps it takes longer. Perhaps the cost is too.
Yeah.
It's not something that's you can easily budget for. But for the most part, and when I think of the Arab world, so when I think of Egypt and Morocco with very strong technology hubs, young people doing very impressive things in innovation, they still don't have the laws to back that up. So
so really it's not in the laws. It's more even a culture thing.
It's more, I think we tend to work with things on the ground, and then we figure out the laws later, which is okay, because laws need to adapt to society and how things are moving. But for the most part, I'd say regions like Kenya and South Africa and Nigeria have very strong innovative aspects to them. And you find that the laws are trying to work at full speed to catch up with these aspects of tech and innovation.
I think to that I can add Ghana as well.
Yeah, in Ghana.
I'm strongly monitoring that market, and I can say I'm impressed. They proposed a misinformation bill.
Wow,
it's an interesting one. I mean, in the area of hate speech, deep fakes and all,
cybersecurity,
cyber crimes as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's amazing. There's something you said where we just work with what it is, and then we develop the laws later. Maybe as compared to what's happening in the Asian world, they have better systems, and then even if they develop the law, is their culture is more favored for their progressiveness. I have an issue though, is the fact that in this side of the world, in this part of the world, and don't hold me on this, yeah.
Okay.
In this part of the world, it's always said, even when the laws are there, yeah, the reality on the ground is different. So we may have a law saying, and I can give an example that I've seen occasionally being used is when it comes, for example, to licensing. And let's say, for example, in acquisitions or sale of shares of a fintech company, and you'll see the procedure is, you're supposed to notify the central bank, and then after approval, transfer shares. But what people do on the ground so that the business and the sale can make commercial sense is you transfer the company once the company has changed hands, and then you go to the central bank and say, hey, we made some significant changes. Please don't kill us. Approve it. And then, of course, nothing really bad happens if you're not sanctioned. But you see, like, if you're coming from outside, you will ordinarily go with the fast route, which is what the law says. But then the reality on the ground is different. What people are doing on the ground is different.
Absolutely.
So what do you think that is?
I think that comes down to just social factors, economic factors, political, human factors. So on the ground, like I'll take, for example, the Constitution. So the Constitution has got those fundamental rights, human rights, okay? Everybody has a right to certain things. But you see these rights being violated daily, right? And when you go to court, these rights are not fully protected, right? So this just comes down to issues like, I don't know, corruption and government in place at the time. So these are factors that you need to consider, especially when you're considering the kind of market you want to go to. You need to look at the factors holistically. Whilst the law might say one thing, you need to be ready to deal with it in terms of how that market deals with it. So for you to be able to do that, of course, you need good counsel to be able to advise you.
I think, sorry for that. I think I was going to say corruption is a very big issue.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
It's one of the biggest factors, actually, as to the reason why things on the ground work differently.
Oh, the reality on the ground is different. Yeah, makes sense. Because if the reality on the ground was to be the same as what the law says, and in most, and this isn't just in most agencies, it would mean that systems work.
Or we'd all be living in La La Land.
Yeah. But then it's proof that our systems don't work. That's where the reality of the ground has to be different. And then it all goes back to corruption and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
So you have to look at it holistically and say, is the return on investment worth this trouble? and this
Yeah.
effort?
Yeah.
And am I passionate enough? And do I have the funds to take on the risks that are coming with this project? Wow.
And what are people saying about this market? Like, what happens when you go into the market? What actually happens 1 year down the line, 5 years down the line? What do I need to do to make sure that I'm successful in this market? So you have to look at all those factors.
One thing I've recently learned, and it's working with a couple of our clients, is understanding the market, not just legally, commercially, politically, fundamentally. When it comes, and I can use an example for perhaps of crypto, is you understand what the financial systems are doing, what other big companies are doing, what the president is doing about it, or parliament is discussing, read the Hansard.
Absolutely.
So that when you get an investor who's coming into the market, you can be able to project and see and be like, okay, so if you invest in this amount of money, because even just to get a lease in Nairobi for 5 years is almost $500 million. So if you invest in that kind of money to start a company and set base here, you need to really understand your market in and out.
You've hit the nail on the head, Gillian, with that one.
Thank you. Interesting. Now let's go to contracts.
Okay.
It's a hot one, yeah?
Yeah.
It's again, it's cliche, but I think there's the reason why it's cliche. There's this thing about there's AI now, there's ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, and the likes. And then there's also just the old Google templates. So what's your take on people using AI-generated contracts on ChatGPT or Google templates and just copy-pasting? What are the risks involved? And I know we've sung this as lawyers so many times, but I mean, it doesn't harm.
It could go both ways. So in terms of using AI to generate these templates, for example, if you generate this template for me based on the Kenyan market, it will do its research and it will bring you something that's related to the Kenyan market, but it won't always be accurate. Right. So for the most part, you still need to ensure that, you've got somebody who's used to doing this kinds of contract to look at the gaps in that AI generated template. Another challenge is sometimes when it comes to templates, you're incorporating things that shouldn't be there or things that are based on other countries. Right?
Yeah, like the law, jurisdiction.
Everything changes depending on the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. So like we've said in Africa, the different countries, the laws are different across borders. So the AI generated material will it will pick from everywhere and give you a template that's not really relevant to you. So sometimes it will give you something good if you have a very good AI software. So I like Claude. It never misses. But sometimes you'll get something very generic, like
so you just need someone to look through it.
You still need legal eyes to have a look because there's some things that might be missing or there's some things that might be there that are not relevant to the market.
Yeah. And I have another question. Why do lawyers hate when they're sent AI-generated contracts to review?
Because there's a lot of reading ahead, reading and corrections.
I know colleagues who every time they'll be like, Gillian, this client had the guts to send me a ChatGPT contract. And he's asking me to review and review.
And another of my pet peeve is like contracts that are full of legalese. I like simple contracts. It needs to make sense to somebody who's not a lawyer. So if you're generating a contract that's so complex and it's so wordy,
it needs to be clear.
It needs to be edited.
San taught as well.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. Contracts are interesting. And you'll find that just the things we're discussing here actually are the reason that most founders, partners, when they're starting, they don't take this into consideration. And then 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they start fighting and they didn't have these contracts to secure their position in the company. Shareholder agreements, partnership agreements weren't properly drafted. And then, even when founders start, most of the time you start with people around you. So your friends, your brother, your family. I think another interesting concept, and funny thing, this was actually part of the firm's onboarding assignment, where guys were challenged to basically discuss how they will handle a dynamic like this. And the dynamic is when you're when you find yourself working with family, friends, people around you in business, how do you navigate that dynamic? Or, how do you protect such relationships? Because being in business with your friends and your family,
it's all nice,
but you have to start with the people around you.
Yes.
So how, as in, are there secret tips? You've been in this game for long. Please tell us.
I'll start by saying business is business. Like, you don't really want to mix your personal relationships with business. So when it comes to business, make sure you still have the structures in place to protect the business and, to protect your friendship. So have a contract. So if you're going to employ your friend, you still need to have an employment contract that outlines how they behave in the business. How you people behave outside the business is a different thing, but you need to ensure that you have safeguards to protect the relationship within the business, because friendships go sour. What happens when friendships go sour and you didn't protect yourself within the business? So have a framework that protects the relationships within the business itself.
I will say the same way marriages these days, people have the prenups and all this kind of agreements before they get married. The same thing should happen even in business, especially businesses. A partnership is a marriage. There's a friend of mine who told me when we were starting, so they say it's a partnership, and he was like, Gillian, I didn't know a partnership is a marriage. It's literally a business marriage.
It
so
is.
You should approach it with the same vigor and keen eye.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's not like when you're having a prenup, you don't love that person. You love them very much, but you're just thinking ahead of what might happen.
Nice
so you protect yourself.
Nice parting shots. Oh, as we get to conclude, there is a rise of in the innovation space. There's a lot happening. As we said, it's like the gold rush. There's like some movement everywhere, and I think also just because of a more informed and knowledgeable population. If you look at compliance, for example, there's a lot of compliance areas. Imagine there's AI governance, there's crypto, there's anti-money laundering, there's ESG and climate change, there's gold and precious stones. The company's coming up with regulations for gold. There's data protection. Recently, we have crypto as well, virtual asset service providers bill. There are all these compliance areas. I mean, fintech, fintech has been hot for a minute. Health tech, you've been in health tech as well. I'm just curious, like which of these compliance spaces and compliance areas are going to be perhaps the most profitable in a couple of years? Which one do you think are going to survive? Which one do you think will be rendered, how can I say, still up and coming, still. I mean, what's your comment on that?
I think in the past we used to say like IP is the oil of the century, and now it's changing. It's not IP anymore. It's anything that's driven by technology. Whilst before oil was that one thing, oil and gold was that one thing. When you thought about, you'd say, "Oh, the future is going ahead because of all these resources." Now it's moved to the digital world. So for me, I'd say I'm very intrigued by the metaverse. So anything that has to do with the metaverse, so gaming, the businesses around the metaverse, I think this will see a significant growth. Anything that has to do with tech, I mean, we'll always have those natural resources like gold and everything else. But the way technology is moving so fast, I think in 5-10 years, we'll be talking about different things that we're talking about now in terms of AI. So game development, it's still a very niche area here, but when you look at other countries, other continents, game developers are moving at such a swift pace. It's something that we need to explore more as startups in Kenya and in Africa. I think definitely anything that's tech focused.
So basically AI, fintech,
everything.
Data protection is hot already. Like there are people who are basically just living off data protection. A few years ago, it was you do data protection in litigation, you're doing commercial, the likes of us.
And there's a lot of data protection officers now being hired because companies are becoming more aware, especially if you're dealing with significant data, you need to have a data protection officer. If you can't afford to have one in-house, then you can always have a consultant to come in and sort of look at that side of things.
Interesting. So basically, if you're in tech, the tech compliance space,
yes,
you got money coming.
It's looking good.
It's looking good.
It's looking very good.
Ooh, let me ask, what are the most exciting trends in this space right now?
In the startup space, or
basically let's do the innovation tech space. Is it the compliance bit? Is it the litigation bit? Like, I don't know. What would you say is exciting you most about? Is it the policy? For me, I'll say it's the litigation around tech. That excites me. Just seeing people litigate human rights, social economic rights that affects you and me and other people, normal users day to day. And in a way, it's because of automation or technology doing something bad. You see, I'm like, that's interesting. That for me excites me. I'm like, yeah, we're going to litigate new things that haven't been done before.
Yeah.
So I don't know what excites you.
Yeah, when you look at particularly the litigation space in Kenya, there's not that much in terms of jurisprudence.
Exactly, yeah.
So for me, actually, the things that excite me are the frameworks. So when you're looking at developing frameworks, where are you drawing your inspiration from? Which countries are doing it well?
Yeah.
What can you bring in to improve the frameworks in your own country? For me, it's always about the drafting part. I think I've always liked the drafting aspect and how people bring together policies to incorporate into their own markets. So that's exciting for me to see where we're going to be in 5 years, what kind of policies, what kind of amendments to the local policies have been in place and such.
Do you think, even for you personally, in your work, drafting is a vital thing? Like, do you enjoy drafting?
Absolutely. Drafting is important. Drafting is like telling a story, and it's a story that will impact not only your clients, but it will inspire and impact also other people who need to get jurisprudence. So I think drafting is important, not just for any lawyer. I think
you know. Is the thing is, people usually think lawyers are just paid to make arguments, but I think lawyers are just not only paid to make arguments, we're also paid to tell stories, to tell your story. And I think, yeah, that's inspiring.
And the ones that tell the best stories often win and draw in more clients.
Oh,
like Gillian.
More challenge. We keep challenging ourselves. What if we look at the African market? How do you think we're positioning ourselves? Recently we had President Ruto say that we want to make Kenya a first world country by 2055. And then before that, he assented to 8 bills for three bills which are technology and innovation focused. Politics aside and implementation wise aside, because we know also our government is good at talking sometimes and not the best implementers. But how do you think we're positioning ourselves to be the Singapores of the world, and not just Kenya, Africa as a whole? Yeah,
I like the Kenyan aspect, because when you think about the mobile tech that has been there for years, can you imagine like trying to exist without all this
a mobile phone,
all this fintech? I mean, it's almost practically impossible. So the innovation is definitely there. In terms of positioning in the world, I mean, we've tried to take this fintech to other parts of the world. It's worked. You saw when Mark Zuckerberg came here to sort of learn from us, which is like, wow, coming to learn from us. So like, we've done something really impressive.
Yeah.
So definitely the foundation is there. We have the brains in the country. It's a matter of now inspiring young people to go into entrepreneurship, which is something that is still sort of lacking. Young people tend to graduate and want to look for work instead of coming up with startups and innovation and ideas. And that's, I think, the challenge for the government is to try and get people to think about being entrepreneurial and that entrepreneurial spirit to create more ideas that bring people to come and learn from us, like the way we've done with our fintech.
Very true.
Yeah.
You should be in the board for Vision 2055.
Sign me up.
Last question.
Yeah.
Looking at the farm, looking at the tech space, at the innovation space, what do you hope to see fast for the farm 5 years from now? Also, what do you hope to see just basically generally for the space, the startup space 5 years from now? Because I think also in the startup space, there's been said that there's a lot of events, a lot of conferences, people are talking, but the action, the helping each other is not there as much. It's just like we go to events, listen to people, and then we're done. The implementation rate is not, as fast as the conferences and the way people are making money from those events. Not that we're shading them, it's just that there's a gap there. So let's just say looking 5 years from now, yeah,
Yeah, so 5 years from now for Gillian Neky Advocates, I'd say it will be great to have the firm as the legal partner for most African unicorns, as the place that startups think about when they're thinking about legal aspects of protection, compliance, litigation. So there are exciting times ahead. I know this firm is very focused, is very tech focused. So I don't doubt that in 5 years that's going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
And then in terms of startups in the African market, I do agree. There's a lot of events, but what can you get from those events, and how does that knowledge translate into innovation? So we'll do our best to make sure that we get the best people in the firm, and that we support clients in standards that are unmatched, and hopefully be the best firm in the country for technology moving forward.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Amen.
There's a discussion I was having yesterday with colleagues in the firm, and basically we were discussing about this whole concept of events and the fact that in a way they feel parallel to each other, so many events and people working together. But I feel like what you've said, we can integrate them, and instead of looking at these 2 points as parallel, they can work together in the sense that, as you said, what we can learn. Not every event can give you the same thing. Some events give you connections. Some events give you knowledge. Yeah. Some events give you exposure. Some events give you something to think about. So it's always, I think what I told Sarah was, if you go to an event and you find that you're not gaining anything in the first 2 hours, please leave. Go home or go to the office, because you will probably just be wasting your time. But you always need to gain something that you can come and implement back.
Yeah, absolutely. It will also help you to stay abreast of what's going on. You don't have to be comfortable just going to things within your own industry. I remember I used to attend a lot of conferences that had nothing to do with my specialty. So I used to go to science conferences, literature conferences, because you want to see what's going on in other industries. You want to understand the trends in other industries, and that translates in your own ways of work, because then you're able to communicate with people from a variety of industries because you have the knowledge.
Smart girl. Thank you so much for this conversation, Liz. It's been an honor. Oh my God, this is so much fun.
Thank you very much for having me.
So much fun.
I really enjoyed. Anything to do with tech and innovation is such a great topic to have, and I hope we'll have more of these moving forward, Jenny.
Yeah, we should. we should. It's exciting. I mean, just sitting down and talking about what's happening in the market, the legal structure, what people are doing. Yeah, I see why people start a podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.